I'm trying to get my feed set up on Instagram, so bear with me, everybody. Gonna get that going, and then we'll spin it up here again. Hey, what's going on? Let's see. KJ Campbell, yes, you did activate the live. That was all you. You activated it. We're good to go now. Not good to go on Instagram. I'll get there. I'll figure out how to get all these different simulcasts going at the same time. But so for the moment, it's just YouTube tonight, not any of the other platforms. So just unicast. Is that a word, unicast? I don't know. Anyway, a lot of stuff going on again, constantly. I think every day we're going to have a new thing that that's going to be hitting us. So new appointments from Trump that's happened. For me, it's going to make for some good content. Whether it pans out, we'll see. I think there's going to be a lot of struggles between the parties that is yet to come. It'll all start next year. But the interesting thing is that it almost seemed that some of this was hashed out in advance. Trump was ready for the election win, for what was to come next. But still, it didn't stop a couple of the appointments here from having folks respond in some sense of shock to them, right? I'll go to the first clip here. And again, if you guys want to see any of this content here, I'm putting my notes on my website, so just politicalcow.com. Not super fancy, but if I'm on some of the other platforms, folks are asking, where did you get that? You made that up or whatever. So just put my notes right up here. You guys can go back with it. Did I commission a Trump what? A Trump fursona? You like that? You guys like that? Yeah. Anyway, he'll come back. Well, we'll take more questions a little bit once we get through some of the stuff here, but he'll come back. I got more Trump stuff like that for another time though. But let's do a rundown real quick of some of the wins that Trump's had over here. Elon Musk is doing a lot now, posting out content about wins and so forth. You got to be careful though. A lot of the accounts that you might see Elon's name on have parody just written after it, or kind of as a footnote almost. So it's pretty convincing. And then you realize, oh, that's actually not Elon's main account. And they just tacked on parody.
But the real progress starts once Trump's team starts getting its hands dirty. Elon Musk and Vivek are running the Department of Government Efficiency. They're calling it DOGE, and they'll have plenty to do. Starting with the pork. The Fed spent $500,000 on a study to see if selfies make you happy.
Hey, Masood. I'm here. Hey, Masood. I'm here.
What is a Sigma male exactly?
A Sigma male's supposed to be introspective and self-reliant, preferring to do their own thing rather than following the crowd. They're often portrayed as lone wolves who aren't concerned with fitting into social hierarchies. The term's been gaining popularity online, though its actual psychological validity is iffy.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That was strange. Did the AI just play a little music at the end of that? It does the weirdest stuff. It started laughing at me sometimes when I ask it questions. Like, let me see if I can make it laugh. Hey, can you call me Mr. Moo from now on?
Sure thing, Mr. Moo. What's moving tonight?
Did you catch that? Like, it was trying to make fun of me, told a joke, and then it laughed at its own joke. I've never seen such a thing. Anyway, let's get back to the Jesse Waters video.
Million went to study if Japanese quail were more frisky if you gave them cocaine. The Fed spent 20 grand on drag shows in Ecuador.
This voice AI supporting local growers. This particular AI is Copilot. It's a Microsoft product. It's based on ChatGPT, and then Microsoft's invested heavily in ChatGPT and OpenAI, so they have, I think, a good bit of ownership in that organization. So they took that as the foundational part of their product, and they wrapped some additional stuff around it. So it's not 100% like for like. They've got some of their own bells and whistles that they've added in.
80,000 in Ghana asking taxi drivers if climate change makes it harder for them to drive. And $500,000 was spent so Fauci could create transgender monkeys. But it's not just waste. There's 3 million federal employees, and a lot of them don't even do much more than collect a paycheck. Most government workers in D.C. are still working from home. COVID's been over for 3 years. But worst of all, $500 billion a year stolen by fraud.
Hey, John, so there is an AI service. I don't remember which one it is, but they let you select like Scarlett. Is that her name? Scarlett Johansson? You know, that movie Her, a number of years ago now, where that basically was the plot of the movie. There's an AI service that lets you pick her voice. It's like, come on, guys, that's a little too strange.
We lose $500 billion of your money to fraud each year. We're getting ripped off like a Walgreens in San Francisco, and no one cares. We're not even locking up our toothpaste. Trump's about to put armed security guards, Musk and Vivek, in the...
So we're talking AI quite a bit here, but the image of, you know, the cow answering reporter questions with the little Trump hair, that was AI generated also.
And catch the shoplifters. But Democrats, no, don't like that. They want the fraud, pork, and work from home.
Elon Musk is going to fail miserably at the homework assignment Donald Trump has given him.
At SpaceX, you know, they've blown up a lot of rockets to get to where they are. I'm not so sure you can blow up things in the federal government quite as easily.
It's the Department of Government Efficiency, and they've got two guys running it, yes. Vivek and Elon. That doesn't sound so efficient.
Elon and Vivek are fighting fraud and...
So they were talking about government disruption. This is a common theme now. It's, you know, every day you hear them talking. It's like they've got their same printout that they go off of. They're talking about the government falling apart if too much is cut, right? Things can't go on. Things can't operate. But the statistics are staggering on an annual basis. It's been estimated 500 billion is lost. Government expenditures are lost to fraud. And then you can kind of go on and tack on the list of items that they keep putting up here. Senator Rand Paul publishes on an annual basis his list of grievances. And I think the last time he did, he had another $500 billion of spend that he deemed to be unnecessary. So, I mean, if you just take that list as a starter, along with what's fraud, being lost in fraud, there's plenty of stuff to go after here. And it's not to say like, okay, just hand that back to everybody, tax cuts or what have you. But what if that got redirected and invested in the right way, in the right projects, in the right growth opportunities? I think that's the big disconnect here. I mean, of course, I want less taxes, so forth. But what if it was invested properly? The things that aren't working, divest from that, just as a business would. You have a portfolio of investments, let go of what's not working or stagnant, and double down on the things that are working.
Cutting waste, and the Democrats are against it. Because why? They work for Trump? Because they're Democrats and they have to be against everything Republicans do? So stupid. Democrats used to be for this stuff.
We know big government does not have all the answers. We know, and we have worked to give the American people a smaller, less bureaucratic government in Washington. And we have to give the American people one that lives within its means.
So those are some interesting remarks that aren't often played anymore. What was liberalism? Exactly what Bill Clinton's talking about there. What was liberalism of the past is no longer what you see now. Everything has shifted quite a bit, but it's kept its same name. So what Clinton's talking there is effectively modern conservatism at this point. But if you listen to definitions of classical liberalism, it's completely the opposite of what the Democrat Party has turned into.
The era of big government is over.
But the real progress...
It's the Department...
The era of big government is over.
The era of big government was just getting started. In '96, Fed spent $1.5 trillion. This year,
So supporting local growers, good point. Very good point. Political economic term, not a brand of ideology. There were some principles behind it. Let me ask my AI, see if it could give us a definition here. Let's see.
Hey,
Are you awake?
Masood. I'm here.
Hey, can you give my live stream viewers a summary of classical liberalism?
Sure. Classical liberalism is a political ideology that emphasizes individual freedom, limited government, rule of law, and free markets. It traces back to philosophers like John Locke and Adam Smith. This ideology champions personal liberties and believes the government's role should be to protect these freedoms while intervening as little as possible in daily life and economic affairs. Classical liberals value things like free speech, property rights, and minimal regulation. Does that help? Anything specific you want more details on?
That's all for now. Thanks.
Okay, catch you later, Masood.
So, very similar in terms of what conservatism is now there. It did start off calling it an ideology. And to me, when you say ideology, it's all the other things that have been tacked on over time, not necessarily what's at the core, right? Which is, I think, the point you were getting at here. But it's changed significantly. It's gone completely astray.
about $7 trillion. More bureaucrats, more spending, more debt, and less power for you. And that all changes on January 20th. Maria Bartiromo is the host of...
All right, so Department of Government Efficiency, that's a big one. Those appointments, they'll continue to hammer on them. I think that there's two of them there because they've got quite a bit of stuff that they also run. Elon, of course, SpaceX, Tesla, the X platform. They're just kind of working on rotation, more or less. It's not going to be like two people who are kind of moving in divergent directions. They're going to work out a way to just operate in rotation and keep the other person informed as to decisions made or new things that were learned along the way as they operate. So I don't think it's going to be like a two-headed monster sort of scenario, because that is true. Anything that has two people considered to be at the top is just not going to work out. I think at one point in the past, SAP, the company, had two CEOs at the same time for some reason. All right, AI time again. Hang on. Hey, can you look up why SAP had two chief executives or two presidents at the same time in the past?
SAP has occasionally had co-CEOs as part of its leadership structure. This approach was meant to leverage the strengths and expertise of multiple leaders, allowing for broader oversight and decision-making. Co-CEOs would typically divide responsibilities based on their individual skills and backgrounds, providing a more comprehensive leadership approach. It's an interesting strategy, though it can come with challenges in coordination and unified vision. Do you think that's a good idea?
I personally don't think it's a good idea, but SAP's still a massive organization. Doesn't seem like it's harmed them tremendously, as they're saying on here. So maybe there is some way of making that work, and it's probably more so due to the individuals that are put in those roles. So you have to have the right people to be able to operate in that mode. So another candidate, Tulsi Gabbard, not really a candidate, a nominee, has been put up there, and she's been nominated to be the director of national intelligence, and everybody's freaking out now. I mean, up and down all the liberal platforms. I don't know if it was announced in time for The View to be aired, but maybe they'll have it in the morning here in a few hours. But here's an exchange with AOC and Joy Reid.
And we haven't even gotten to Tulsi Gabbard potentially having access to national security information. And Russia loves it, loves her.
And I actually think almost more than Matt Gaetz, Tulsi Gabbard's appointment is devastating. And Tulsi Gabbard's nomination, as much as she says that she's an anti-war person, she's not.
Yeah.
She supports very pro-war individuals.
Including
abroad.
in Syria.
And let's be very clear,
Yeah.
a Tulsi Gabbard nomination is a pro-war nomination globally. Point blank, period.
As is Donald Trump as president of the United States.
So that's strange, right? When they say stuff like this, it makes me wonder if they're just going to throw out anything that might stick, that might dominate a news cycle. What does America First actually mean then? One of their key principles that they stand on. I think in his past term, and for the last 8 years, Trump has been accused of being an isolationist and not being pro-globalization or being involved in every aspect of global affairs. I mean, that's what he's been, tagged with. And yet you have the complete opposite being presented here. Of course, in the same vein, you have other publications that say, like, oh, look, why is she so controversial as the new intels are? And here's the brief description: an isolationist in a role critical for U.S.-backed wars. Both things can't be true at the same time. You can't be an isolationist and be, want to have a, I don't want to call it imperialist, but be seen as wanting to meddle all over the world. Those two things are not quite right. So it's, when you think about it, maybe it is a good balance that they're striking with her, but still, they're casting her as the complete opposite. In fact, Biden started to be accused of the exact same things, being pro-war, military-industrial complex, all those sorts of things. Everything that Biden started to portray or demonstrate is now being cast on either Trump or now being cast on some of the people that he is nominating to these high-ranking positions. And so yet again here, you see there's plenty of publications that say, like, hey, look, she was actually an isolationist. She doesn't want us to get involved in these things, wants to pull, our resources and our people out of these environments. Anyway, I copied in there some additional notes I had on her background. So you guys take a look at that if you want on the site, just politicalcow.com. But it didn't stop, folks.
We begin tonight with breaking news, and a lot of it. The appointments are coming pretty fast and pretty furious. Within the past hour, President-elect Trump has chosen a defense secretary and more. First, the defense secretary is Pete Hegseth. If confirmed, he'll oversee more than 2 million active duty and reserve forces, 750,000 civilian employees, and a budget of nearly $850 billion. His current job is co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend. Hegseth is a decorated Army combat veteran, as well as a graduate of Princeton and Harvard. He has no prior government experience. Then, just over 20 minutes ago, another Trump announcement, this one involving former campaign rival Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk to head a new government department. Reading from his statement.
I think I got a delay on the chat. He says Tulsi is a conspiracy theorist. What conspiracies was she promoting?
Statement. I'm pleased to announce that the great Elon Musk, working in conjunction with American patriot Vivek Ramaswamy, will lead the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Together, these two wonderful Americans will pave the way for my administration to dismantle government bureaucracy, slash excess regulations, cut wasteful expenditures, and restructure federal agencies essential to Save America movement. This, he added, would potentially become, in his words, the Manhattan Project of our time. Now, all of this comes at the end of a day that saw new reporting in the Wall Street Journal on significant potential moves by the president-elect involving top military commanders. Now, the headline reads, Trump draft executive order would create board to purge generals. Panel could upend military review process and raise concerns about politicization of military. The Journal got a look at the draft, which calls for the creation of a board of retired senior military personnel empowered to review 3- and 4-star officers and recommend removals of any deemed unfit for leadership. Quoting from the report, as commander-in-chief, Trump can fire any officer at will, but an outside board whose members he appoints would bypass the Pentagon's regular promotion system, signaling across the military that he intends to purge a number of generals and admirals. A transition team spokeswoman did not comment on the draft order, but she did say that Americans gave him a mandate to, quote, implement the promises he made on the campaign trail, and he certainly did promise action against certain generals.
I don't know why any of this is a surprise. You do make shifts politically. There's a lot of very senior people that are, appointed into their roles, and as the political parties, shift power, those ones that were nominated that are very loyal to one party or the other, they get swapped out. So I don't know what's so surprising about this. I realize it is connected to the military, but again, there's a lot of appointed roles. I think the depth that we do have with our military, I'm confident that there's quite a few really competent folks that can kind of step into some of these senior roles if folks are getting changed out. The variance I see here, though, is there's been a lot of emphasis on more social type and DEI type focus areas in the military that I think have taken the focus away from the core mission. But right now, as part of the news cycle, the media is just looking for anything and everything to kind of hit Trump and his appointees with, just seeing what will stick, what will resonate. But they might be a little too early on this. They probably should have waited a little bit longer, just kind of seeing the results of the election, seeing the discontent across the country. Because again, you have surveys coming out there that say half of the country is struggling to pay their rent every month. Like, what does that mean, right? They say, oh, look, stock market all-time highs. Bitcoin's at like 90,000 now. That doesn't really resonate for everybody. Everybody's not there, right? The concentration of money has shifted quite a bit, right? And they're just not, they don't realize where people are at exactly, because they're looking at these metrics that are not the right ones. Stock market, GDP, they're not really an indication of how people are doing. Looking at those data points as to some of these surveys are releasing, people struggling to pay rent. There's other ones that come out that people are struggling to get groceries. You look at individual cost of living increases. It all adds up. And then on top of that, part of the reason that the Democrats lost was they were, on top of that, proposing that they would not seek to renew the tax cuts that are in place from Trump. So higher costs for standard of living and couple that with more taxes, that's a losing recipe. Wax Prime says, the greatest I've felt about our future in my adult life. I honestly thought it was too late. Thank you, U.S. voters. All right. Where are you at? Wax Prime, where are you at? Americans have spoken. The new America is here. Yeah, I've told this story on a past live, but I was in the Philippines recently. And I know they claim that a lot of these folks are isolation and so forth, but you can't just cast them in one light. Things are a little more complicated than that, right? So while I was out in the Philippines, I didn't know about this, but China is evidently harassing a lot of the Philippine ships and vessels that are out clearly in Philippine waters. And they're ramming Coast Guard ships into fishing vessels, into the Philippine Coast Guard ships. And so they're intimidating them, right? Trying to provoke something. This has become a pretty contentious topic out there. It was on their news. I didn't know it was going on. And the Philippines have signed a pact with Japan now because Japan's starting to experience some similar tactics being taken on them. And so the folks I was interacting with there, they asked me, so who are you going to vote for? This is before the election. When I told them Trump, they were like relieved. They were happy about it. They were thankful, and it's because they want somebody with a strong hand that's willing to take action against bad behavior like that. China wants to expand its influence. You look at Taiwan, you look at what they're doing in the Philippines right now. They want to expand their influence, grow their power, but it's at the cost of some of these other countries' security. And so they want to have a United States that's willing to say, hey, those types of behaviors aren't acceptable, and these are the consequences, right? You hear Trump talk about 60% tariffs, and of course the Democrat side immediately goes to like, oh, that's going to cause inflation and hardship on people, like he has no idea what he's doing. But these are actions out of principle, and I seriously doubt that day one he's going to institute these 60% tariffs on people or on any Chinese products that are being imported. Everything is a negotiation. Everything's calculated. So you put, a extreme position as your starting point, right? I mean, how do you negotiate for a home or anything? You know what the ask is, and you just kind of walk that backwards, right? I'm going to put something in that lowballs it a little bit so that we have room for negotiation. And so that's a starting position, right? This is where I'm willing to take it. And on top of that, he'll say that I'm willing to take it even further, right? But a 60% tariff on those imported products is far more devastating to China than it would be to the United States. That would absolutely cripple their economy. So many things going on. A lot of his appointees are being criticized at this point. A lot of the ones that are to come will be criticized. But, today there was a America First Policy Institute Gala at Mar-a-Lago that Trump did speak at. I thought it was a good mix-up, but it didn't get as much coverage as I would have liked it to. CNN did air the speech, but didn't hear enough about it. You would think that a new president, after they were elected, if they had these types of, speeches that they were giving, that it would have gotten wider distribution. But anyway, I got it posted on the X platform if you guys want to go take a look.
Wow. Well, thank you, Sly. Sly does not do that. He doesn't do that stuff. And he did a beautiful job, and I want to thank you and John Voight for being here. John, the great fight movies, I think Sly has a lot of them, and John has The Champ. What a movie that was, right? But I want to thank everybody for being here. When Mrs. Post and E.F. Hutton, her husband at the time, when they built Mar-a-Lago many years ago, the Roaring 20s, it was the Roaring 20s, and we're hotter right now than they ever were in the Roaring 20s, I believe, and we're going to be a lot hotter, but we're going to keep it going. We're not going to have 1929 happen. Although, if it would have continued the way it was, it might not have been too good. But when they built it, nobody knew what was going on. Nobody knew opulence. Nobody knew real luxury. Nobody knew poverty. They didn't know anything. And they learned a hard lesson. In 1929, they learned a very, very hard lesson. And we're going to turn our country around. We're going to make it so great, so strong, so powerful. We're going to bring it all back. I want to thank some people that have been so instrumental in doing such a great job in terms of not only policy, but people, and people love them. Brooke Rollins, who put this on with Linda McMahon. Linda has been a great friend of mine for a long time, right, Linda? I want to thank you very much.
I always think it's interesting that WWE comes into the mix. Linda McMahon, the McMahon family, of course, all of their businesses and everything were centered in, just in the New York area, Northeast. So very likely they're in the same circles, socially, same deals, maybe that they're a part of on a personal basis. Not that Trump got into wrestling, but Trump was in the squared circle on a couple of occasions there. I think he was at a WrestleMania event also, actually part of the performance. So I don't know. I always think that's amusing when the WWE gets involved in it, or brought up at least.
Said the America First Policy Institute, what a job they've done. But I said, the policy is much more important if we do it for 8 years than it is if we do it for 4 years. So I said, let's do this. Don't worry about your policy. Let's get out and let's win the election. But nobody knew we were going to win it the way we wanted. That was our big one. So that was really great. And Javier, I'd like to congratulate you on the job you've done for Argentina. Your speech was beautiful, but the job you've done is incredible. Make Argentina great again. You know, MAGA. He's a MAGA person. And you know, he's doing that. He's actually doing that. Just happens to work with EA. That one we don't have to worry about. It doesn't work so well with other countries, but you know what? I think your numbers are working also. You've done a fantastic job in a very short period of time. It's an honor to have you here. That's really great. Thank you. Also, Speaker Mike Johnson, wherever you may be, Mike, in this very big and crowded room. Thank you, Mike. I went yesterday, just in case, I said, look, I want to tell you, I'm behind this man 100%, and he got 100% of the vote from Republicans. Are you sure? You sure, huh? No, he's doing a great job. Nothing easy. We actually had one little period, about 4 weeks, where we had a majority of 1. That was not pretty, right? And you handled it beautifully. He just kept that stiff upper lip. But he's doing a really good job, and that was a great vote you got yesterday. Totally unanimous vote. Congratulations, Mike. That's beautiful. Members of Congress, all of whom voted for Mike, and they've been my friends. It's just a small group, but we have a lot of them outside, and we have a lot of them coming over the weekend. Byron Donalds, the star. Where's Byron? Byron, what a star. What a star. Thank you, Byron. Ronnie Jackson, Doc Ronnie, He's been a lot of things. He was my doctor. He was a great admiral, you know, highly respected admiral, great doctor at the White House, and now he's a very popular congressman. He won by 48 points. That's pretty good. Of course, it was a very, very Trumpy district, but he won by 48 points. But when he was a doctor, they asked him the question, the fake.
I feel like it's always like a stand-up routine to a degree when he starts getting on a roll like this. None of this is written down. He's just going, you know, shooting from the hip here. The term I liked, it was a very Trumpy district. I think we need to hear that a little bit more often.
Which is here. Look. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. We invited them and they said, can we come in? I said, we have nothing to hide as Republicans, right? We have nothing to hide. But they asked Ronnie, they asked the doctor, he was up in the podium, who's the healthiest? Because he was the doctor for Barack Hussein Obama.
And you notice how he always uses Barack Obama's middle name in these things. He's always got to bring it up.
Donald Trump. And he was the doctor for Bush also. They said, who's the healthiest of them all? He said, without question, it's Donald Trump. And I said, I like that guy. I said,
yeah. Let's keep listening.
I like that guy. And he's doing great. Jason Smith is here, a great, great congressman. Wesley Hunt, wow. And Mike Waltz, who's going to be doing a little other work for us in the very near future. We just nominated him, and he's going to be doing a great job in the administration. And I promised Mike that I wouldn't be taking too many more before we start counting the votes, okay? He said, please, could you slow down a little bit? I just like the people in Congress, Mike. I'm sorry. But no, don't worry about it, Mike. Just relax. Just relax. We have a man who has a seriously high IQ. You know, I'm a person that believes in high IQs, and his is about as high as they get. He launched a rocket 3 weeks ago, and then he went to Pennsylvania to campaign because he can.
Oh, you know, I didn't watch Rush or listen to him very much, Miss Know-It-All. So Rush, okay. Rush used to use that a lot. You know, another thing Rush did that I did hear, he would never say the Democratic Party. And I hear people say it all the time, and I always thought it was kind of funny that they name their party so that they can be called the Democratic ones, which means the other party is not, right? But he would always say the Democrat, and he would make sure not to say Democratic so that there was that distinction, that they are a Democrat party. They are the Democrat Party, not the Democratic Party.
Considered this more important than launching rockets that cost billions of dollars. Elon Musk. Elon. What a job. What a job he does. He's and he happens to be a really good guy. You know, he likes this place. I can't get him out of here. He just likes this place. And you know what? I like having him here, too. He's good. He's done a fantastic job. Really an incredible mind, and he's an unbelievable entrepreneur, sort of everything. I'm asking him, what do you do best? And we were not able to figure it out.
Yeah, you got to give Rush credit, because most modern political commentators have modeled themselves, especially the ones that have their own programs. They've modeled his style, his format. You go down the list of things, whether they are Democrat or Republican or whatever, they've modeled themselves completely after him, which is, you know, very, very successful. He's still, you know, absolutely the standout.
But it's a lot of things. Another one who's an...
And it's funny, I've been into politics for quite some time, and I think, you know, years and years back, I don't know why I didn't listen to him. I've only caught clips of him on, you know, online or different segments that may have been brought up on the news, but I never like sat down and listened to one of his programs.
Another great mind and a great guy, and so popular, and I think he's right. He wants to make people healthy. It's driven him pretty wild over the last number of years. And
this appointment, I do really like RFK going into Health and Human Services. There's a lot of things that are permitted here in the States that just don't fly in Europe and elsewhere. And I think that has harmed the well-being of a lot of the youth, a lot of people just in the country altogether. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of that and how quickly some change can be put into place.
The Democrats didn't treat him well. He was doing fantastically well. And I think they came out with some rule that you had to do this, Mike. You had to get 70 or 75% of the vote to qualify to be in the primary. That was a pretty tough thing to get. And he was doing incredibly well, and he decided he can't do it, went independent. Now he's with us all the way. And today I nominated him for, I guess, if you like health and if you like people that live a long time, it's the most important position, RFK Jr. Bobby? Good. And I just looked at the news reports. People like you, Bobby. Don't get too popular, Bobby. Oh. You know, you've reached about the level. Now, we want you to come up with things and ideas and what you've been talking about for a long time, and I think you're going to do some unbelievable thing. Nobody's going to be able to do it like you, and boy, does he feel it in his heart. So congratulations also to your family. And a woman who was a Democrat and was an independent, she went independent, and last week she said, I want to be a Republican because this is what I stand for. And I've always admired her, and I've admired her because she was loaded up with common sense. And it's all about common sense. I mean, we're conservative in this room, but we can understand the other side. But what we really are is people with common sense. And I think that's why we won with the numbers that we won by. Tulsi Gabbard. Thank you, Tulsi. Great common sense. And you have Vivek Ramaswamy. It's taken people a long time, and now that name is emblazoned into their brain. But Vivek, wherever you may be, where are you, Vivek? Thank you, Vivek. Good. He's working with Elon on efficiency. They're working on efficiency, among other things, and they're going to be saving a lot of money and making our country stronger and better. And they'll be coming out with individual reports, but a big one toward the end. And you put those two together, it's going to be really great. So we look forward to seeing it, working with Elon, and that'll be a great experience. You're going to learn something from Elon, I think, right? It's going to be great. Thank you very much, Vivek. And great job. What you've done is fantastic. And somebody that I've admired for a long time, but I've really gotten to know him in my political life, but especially, I think, over the last year, more than maybe ever before, maybe more than even in the first 4 years, because we had a tremendous success through my first term, and then bad things happened, and we had to wait. I couldn't wait. I was I was saying they're not going to do it. They're not going to help us. They're not going to save this country. And it really dawned on me about 10 days out. I said, wait a minute, with 10 days, I waited 4 years, 3 years, 2 years. All of a sudden, it's 10 days, and then every day seems so long. But I knew by the crowds we were getting, it was going to be really something. And Newt Gingrich got up and he said, this is a very special thing that's happening, because nobody has ever had crowds, and they just wanted hope. They wanted something. They just didn't want what they had. And nobody expressed it more beautifully than Newt Gingrich. And thank you, Newt, very much. It was really beautiful. And Callista, thank you very much. Thank you, Callista. But the American people have just delivered really something very, very amazing. The biggest political victory in 129 years. Can you believe that, Newt? 120. They said the most consequential election. I love that word. It's a beautiful word. Most consequential election in the last 129 years. Wow, that's something. So we swept all swing states. We won the popular vote. Oh, I love that. You know, in the last one, in my first term, they said he won the election, but they always followed by he didn't win the popular vote. That's.
Hey, Frank, appreciate the comment there. Yeah, I'm with you on that. He's uniquely the right person right now, with the level of corruption, the level of waste that's happening in government, to come in and bring. I mean, you want to talk about diverse, bring a collective of individuals into these senior positions that have absolute diversity of thought and background, who all have something very well suited for the positions that they're assigned to. Elon Musk, the efficiency piece that he was just talking about. I mean, he took out 80% of the people and assets that were in Twitter. And by assets, he divested from data centers that were, duplicative. They didn't need some of these additional data centers that were just out there. Why they were built, who knows, right? But there was a lot of that resource that he saw was just wasteful, and so he cut it out, right? And now look at the platform; it's taking off completely, and it's probably way more profitable now than it was when he had bought it initially. And so, I remember seeing videos that were posted around that time in the Twitter files where, somebody that worked at Twitter said, like, here's what my day looks like. They come in the office, the barista there makes them a drink. They eat breakfast. They have a meeting. Oh, it's, time for lunch. It was like this wasteful day. Like, what did you actually do in this day? What did you do this last week? They'd have 2 meetings. They'd eat, socialize and go home. And it's bizarre. Who's able to do that kind of stuff? Yeah, Trump's picking a dream team. What? Mediocrity? Mediocrity is our future. Oh, come on, Melody. It's going to be better. It's going to be great. Give him a shot. Let's give him a shot. So Jackson says your logo says cow underneath what's essentially a bull. So it's a bull because I'm a dude, I guess, but the political cow is just an economics analogy. So it's just the idea of the economics analogy that I'm talking about. And if you guys aren't familiar with it, there's a number of versions to describe types of government. So the capitalist example is, there's a farmer, they have 2 cows. And if this is a capitalist society, he sells 1 cow, buys a bull, grows a herd, gets rich, hires a bunch of other hands to help out, and retires rich. And then likewise, if you're in a communist society, there's a farmer that had 2 cows. The government comes, takes the cows away, and a couple times a week, they give them some spoiled milk. Mediocrity is good, though. Like, merits are important instead of... Oh, I'm sorry. Meritocracy. I misread that. Absolutely with you on that. You're absolutely right. My eyes are getting blurry. I actually do have an eye appointment tomorrow. I need to get a new prescription here. I apologize. I absolutely agree with you. And see what this, I need to get the translation on this particular comment over here. Let me see if I can copy paste that. Translate. All right, what does this say? Oh, holy cow. Wow. Look at that. That's in the chat right there. Now I know how to say Trump in Chinese. That's pretty cool. Thank you for that.
What they say, I don't even know is it true or not, who knows. But they would say he didn't win the popular vote, and we won the popular vote by records now, which nobody can say that anymore about us. Nobody can say that because we won the popular vote, and I didn't win it.
It's interesting, the dynamic here. This first term won it just by the Electoral College. A lot of people called the legitimacy into question because of that. You know, the debate ensued. Do we need to have that Electoral College still? Which every time it works out that way, it's the same conversation we have. But it mirrors, because he got both the popular vote and the Electoral College, and by a fair margin, it mirrors Bush's presidency in a way. I mean, aside from the gap, the second term, Bush won the popular vote. And of course, translate that into winning the Electoral College for him in this case. And he, you know, was very appreciative of that, and that gave him a mandate, and he wasn't shy about it. Likewise with Trump, there's a clear mandate, and so you look at his appointments and everything, he's not wasting any time. He's putting people in place that he knows he can trust, that he sees something in, the meritocracy that Melanie was talking about. And so he's trying to get after everything pretty aggressively here. So I mean, I'm good with that. I think it's good to have a shift like that, but it's not to say that everybody's an outsider, because you look at Marco Rubio, and that was a surprising pick for a lot of folks. I mean, I couldn't tell you who he was going to pick for Secretary of State. I have no idea, right? But that's an interesting pick. He's a little more on the conventional side of things. Juan says RFK is a joke. Why is RFK a joke? If he can improve the quality of foods, improve the standards, Rubio's a joke. Let me see. Is Tulsi going to be a joke next?
The people wanted. The great people of our country won the popular vote, and that's what they wanted. And this was something really special. Won the White House, recaptured the Senate, and now, as of today, recaptured the House. Thank you very much, Congressman. And on track, looks like we have it, the largest margin in the national vote in presidential year since 1928. That's a long time ago. Well, that's interesting. That's when this house was built, 1928. It took a lot of years, but that was when it was completed. And something that I just read here, and I saw from one of our friends from the news, from the media, we won, I didn't know this, we won 49 out of 50 states, shifted toward the
Press secretary. Still waiting to see who he picks for press secretary. You didn't see that. Alex Jones would be a phenomenal pick, though. But here, let me pull it up. So that was on number 3. Oh, that's the video feed. Yeah, notes come first, then video feed second, because that's the automated from the platform, from the YouTube platform. So there's Rubio. They're talking about Trump's picks. Uh-oh. I thought I had a clip there. I think is it Haba? Elena Haba? his attorney, basically, in the New York case. That's the one I saw. Okay, this is fake. Don't pay attention to the Tucker Carlson one. But here you go. Okay. Press Secretary Alex Jones. That would have been too good. Where? I thought I read that it was her. Okay, I'm not seeing it here. All right. Maybe I'm putting out some fake news there.
The GOP significantly. That's a big number. So we won the largest share of black and Hispanic votes of any Republican in the history of our country, recorded history of our country. So we won, think of that. We won the largest share of black and Hispanic voters.
Welcome to the United States of Russia, says Juan. Interesting.
That's so incredible. They're unbelievable people. We respect them. We admire them. They've been through a lot, and they like us. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. But if you take a look at the border of Texas, the governor called me, Greg Abbott, who's a great guy, called me up. He said, you won every single town on the border, and these towns were always blue. They were a dark, strong blue, and we won every single town up and down the border in Texas. We won with married women. What about unmarried women? What happened to unmarried women? We won with married women. We won half of all ages. Think of that. More than 50% of the 18 to 29-year-olds, the highest in many decades, the highest number. And again, it really has to do with common sense. You know, people don't want...
That last one, I think, is a very important one because it sets the stage for a number of elections to come. Trump disproportionately had a higher percentage of first-time voters. That's very significant because typically folks... Oh, hey, I pinned the comment. MAGA is awesome. That's probably why you see a duplicate. I just pinned the comment. But typically, the trend has been that younger voters leaned more to the left. They were liberal. And of course, the old adage and joke is that everyone starts out a liberal until they have to start paying taxes and then they become conservative over time, right? But in this case, though, the Gen Z younger generation coming in to the electorate, you know, they went heavy to Trump. I think it was like 55%. Actually, I think I got that graphic up here. Let me try to pull it up again here. Where is it? Let's see. Oh. Come on, load. Okay, here it is. Okay, so on the Republican side, right, first-time voters in 2020, 32%. In 2024, 54% of first-time voters went Republican. That is crazy. You could see in 2020, yes to Democrat, 64% versus 32%. And then it just turned upside down, 54 to Trump, 45 that way. So it's not just for this one election, but that sets the stage. Is that the trend that will continue? Those kids that came into the electorate, they're going to continue on the conservative path. And then you got to think, what's making this newer generation come in and be conservative? What have they been exposed to that's driving them in that direction, right? So a lot of the plays that have been, kind of put out there, a lot of the new social norms that have attempted to be established recently, You go down the list of stuff. I don't want to like go down that rabbit hole, but think about all those things. It's very likely that it's a rejection of all of that.
Men playing in women's sports, right? They don't want it.
There you go. Case in point.
They don't want it. You know, I said that during the last few weeks, I was very heavy on the common sense things, like they want a border. They want people to come into our country. They do. They don't want to have exclusion, but they want to come in legally through a system. They don't want them coming in through prisons and through where you dump a prison from.
I just read the tiny violin comment. Very nice.
Countries all over the world dumping prisons into our country. The prisoners dumped into our country by the millions. They don't want that. They don't want all of the kind of things that they don't want drug dealers. They don't want gang members. They don't want people that are causing trouble. They don't want people that the country doesn't want. And they had I would say a truth, Elon would say an X, but it came out and it had 12 different things, and it went down a list of things, and part of it was that the cartels were bringing in drugs. They don't want them. It's stopping you. Wait till you see the numbers that are going to be released.
So to Samuel, I'd say, is it really any different anywhere else where the bigger personality does play a significant part? I think the biggest difference is that we're a two-party system, and there's some core principles that divide the country. When you have more parties to choose from, you could kind of tweak the mix of, where you stand on issues. And so things become a little bit more diverse that way. But that's, I think, more what defines us is the two-party system and the principles that each of the groups stand behind, not as much the personalities. I do like the personality. I do like that he turned what was the Republican establishment at that time, he turned it upside down, and a lot of people were ejected from the party because it was necessary, but I don't think that's the only thing in play.
In 2 days, things happened to our country. This is 2 days as of 3 days ago, but things are happening to our country that we didn't see happening for years. The caravans on the way up, 35,000 people, they're breaking up. They're breaking up. They're not making the journey. And we had 3 or 4 of the highest, I guess almost every single day we set new records in the stock market. And so,
to the comment on one candidate hammering policy. So it's interesting because until, and I was watching it pretty closely, until maybe mid-September, and of course it was Harris by that point, not Biden any longer, there was not any content on the Harris website or the Democrat candidate's website as far as where they stood. Biden's page, when it was his, when you would go there, it immediately jump out like donate now, and they would ask me for like a $2,000 donation, right? It's like, what the heck? It was donate, a biography on Biden, which then converted to a biography on Harris, and then there was like some contact or like upcoming events and volunteer efforts. Nothing about where he stood. The same held for Harris until about mid-September when she finally released some content out there. But if you went to Trump's site, Agenda 47 was his thing. There was quite a bit of detail that was in place. He had YouTube videos explaining things. It wasn't just some written text. There was a good bit of thought that was put into it. And it hit on a lot of the core topics that actually matter to people right now.
Market, we set new records economically. We're doing it. Now, the only thing is, Mr. Speaker, I think it's important, maybe you should pass a bill. You have to start my term from November 5th, okay? Or November 6th if you want. November 5th, because the market's gone through the roof. Enthusiasm's doubled. It's doubled in the last short while. And I watched a liberal commentator say, whether you like him or not, there seems to be a beautiful light shining over our country and even over the world. I said, this guy didn't say that. But we have to defeat inflation, and while inflation's down, the costs are way too high. And when I went around...
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge some of the comments in here. So Samuel talking about what's happening in Britain, talking about, finance equity groups. That's the big problem that we face right now too, and why Trump had some appeal, not some appeal, a great deal of appeal, is that when a billionaire comes in there, is he really going to be influenced by the lobbies that are, offering hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in donations? Trump was self-funded quite a bit in that first go-around, and that actually got him in trouble because his personal finances were then exposed, not just campaign finances, because when you self-fund, things get intermingled, so forth. And he got caught up in some things because of that. But the money coming out of politics, I think, is one big step going forward, because Trump has just 4 more years. And then what? Getting the money out of politics. And then for us, we need term limits on some of these representatives like Biden that have been there for 40 plus years. I mean, you really get detached from reality at that point. How do you, like George Bush Sr. famously didn't know how much a gallon of milk cost, and that really hurt him at the polls, right? And people were just all over him about that a number of years ago. So getting detached from how the world really works is problematic, and we probably need to cycle in, leaders or people with different experiences depending on what area they came from. We need different people to go in there and speak about what's happening right now and what people care about right now, instead of, somebody that effectively becomes a tenured academic in the University of the Congress.
I heard something that was very interesting. The word grocery. It's sort of such a strange and simple, and nice word. I'm going out for. And yeah, on the immigration topic, that's right. That once you're a citizen, you're a citizen. That's it. If you have a green card or you have any other visa or residency that's legally sound, you've done the right thing. You're here properly, right? So I mean, that's like a scare tactic that they put out there, that everybody will be subject to some sort of a deportation scenario. That's actually not what's intended here at all. Groceries today, they talked about that more than any other item. The groceries are too high. And when you think about it, that's a very bad thing. And I talked about that a lot in the last couple of weeks, and it resonated. I tell a story about a woman. Although, Samuel, I'm actually looking to personally profit from that, because when they do make a trade, they are legally required to announce or that trade that they just made within 45 days. And a lot of these stocks that they invest in, they don't move overnight. It's, 4 or 5 months down the line before you see any real traction on things. So I don't know. On a personal basis, I might want to get in on some of that action, but I do acknowledge what you're saying. That's absolutely true. That's not, people should not be going to Congress for insider information. Woman, she got 3 apples, an old woman. She had 3 apples, and she brought them up to the cash register, and she looked at the woman and she said, "Is that the right price?" And the woman said, "Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. Yes, it is." And she said, "Oh, that's okay. Could you wait 1 minute?" And she took one of the 3 apples and she brought it back to the refrigeration, and she came back gently up to the cash register and she paid for 2 apples instead of 3. That should not be happening in our country. That should not be happening here. It's not going to happen here. We're going to make it a much different place. We're going to slash energy costs. We're going to get your energy bills in half, and that's going to bring down the cost, generally speaking. And we're going to have a whole new. We have a big announcement, and I won't tell you the name of his the exact name. I think he's an incredible person. He's got an unbelievably wonderful wife named Catherine. So I won't tell you his name. Might be something like Burgum. He's from North Dakota. He's going to be announced tomorrow for a very big position. So everybody's waiting. There he is. Hi, Doug. He's going to be announced tomorrow, and we have somebody else that's probably coming up with him to be announced, who's a big one. And we're going to do things with energy and with land, interior, that is going to be incredible. And so I look forward to doing the formal announcement, although this is a pretty big announcement right now. Actually, he's going to head the Department of Interior, and he's going to be fantastic. All right? Good, Doug. Congratulations, Catherine. But we'll make the formal announcement tomorrow. All right? We're going to reduce regulation, waste, fraud, and inefficiency, and these two guys are going to find a lot of it. We're going to clean out the corrupt.
Yeah, so the make food affordable again, that's going to be really tough because, you know, Biden's touting, or he was, I don't know what he's doing these days, aside from giving creepy smiles to the camera all the time. But when he talks about inflation doing better, Harris said this too, just a talking point, not a reality, but inflation has come down. They would say things in those terms. All that means is how quickly prices are increasing has slowed down. So the pace at which the cost of eggs is going up, it's just going up a little more, like, slower, right? It's still going up. Nothing has changed, right? It's only going up by 2.5% instead of, 15, 20% or whatever it did for years, not years, but for a few years here. So how they address that, I don't know. I do think they need to concentrate on how wage growth can get accelerated. But that's a difficult challenge. So I'm interested in hearing what the answer to that will be. Because there is the viewpoint of, you can provide, some tax relief to the population at large, but how do you make sure that doesn't immediately translate into, companies trying to, increase their margins on things? I don't know what the right way of going about it is, but that's the biggest challenge out there, that prices in general are not necessarily going to come back down for a lot of these areas.
Broken and failing bureaucracies, and that's what we're going to be doing. And we're going to stop child sexual mutilation. We're going to stop it because it's time. It's time. It's time, and it's not right what's going on. It is mutilation, and it's not going to happen. We have to stop it. We have to get back to a great country with low taxes and strong military. We're going to fix our military. We did it once. Now we're going to have to do it again. We didn't know a big chunk of it was going to be given to Afghanistan. We're going to work on Middle East, and we're going to work very hard on Russia and Ukraine. It's got to
ending child support. So it's kind of like a tariff to me, right? You want to encourage good behavior. So like, be there for your kids. Don't kind of move away from that responsibility. That one, I don't think I can support that.
Stop. Russia and Ukraine's got to stop. Thousands and thousands. I saw a report today. Thousands of people over the last 3 days were killed. Thousands and thousands of people were killed. They happen to be soldiers, but whether they're soldiers or they're people sitting in towns, we're going to work it. So I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I really want to congratulate Linda, you and Brooke, for the job you've done. And it's an honor to be here. And thank you, Sly. Thank you, everybody. Great honor. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm going to cut it short there. Because they usually play music, and you kind of catch a copyright strike sometimes on that thing. So I don't want to try and avoid that. I do find that standardized circumcision is only very odd in America. I hear hygiene is the main argument. Today, all right. Speak like a man, please. They need to make it so child support can only be used for the child in form of coupons or spent on. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you go about making sure that it's used appropriately, but You got to take care of your kids. They're your kids. Not just financially, but you need to show up for things. You need to be there to spend time, all kinds of stuff. I saw Trump at Home Depot. Not taking care of. That was Rosie O'Donnell. Oh boy. Let me roll up here. Samuel, I assume you're not talking about Rosie O'Donnell. Yeah, so America needs some celibacy. It's a cultural issue to me. The culture is not what it used to be. It's become too much of a norm to walk away from things like that, and not, kind of manage it head on and, take responsibility. There's no, in movies and stuff, you don't see somebody as being recognized as being a good person or doing, for doing the right thing. You don't see them kind of winning or anything like that. The culture is completely shifted. It just it promotes what I think is just degenerate behavior in general. Yeah, Miss Know-It-All. I mean, that's the bottom line right there, honestly. That's the bottom line for everybody. Oh, Samuel. So, I don't know. I've seen some of those videos on some of the social media sites and stuff where people, get a test done years later and, find out about stuff like that. I don't know. Those situations are just like horrible. They're just like horrifying. It should just be standard practice to kind of do that sort of verification. So it's not like a, taboo or offensive thing or whatever. But again, it's like you just can't, I don't think you can outright say that child support should just end, though. All right, so the monologues on some of these liberal programs have been pretty interesting. They've been pretty intense, like night after night. But then in the same part, the viewership on CNN, MSNBC in particular, has dropped dramatically, 30-40% for some of their programs, to the point where CNN is calling for layoffs, and that will include some of their top-tier talent. It hasn't been fully announced who and by when, but they're just at the point where they need to keep making a profit, and that's that's where all the big ticket items are. There's like Anderson Cooper and some of the other ones that are consuming, I'm sure, the vast majority of their budget on hosts. Let me see if I could move over. Yeah, so let me just play this real quick. Lawrence O'Donnell, this guy's never like had a very nice tone. Has never been very, hopeful or putting a message out there that's motivational or inspiring, right? So listening to his tone and how he kind of goes about things here.
Last word with the great Lawrence O'Donnell. Good evening, Lawrence.
Good evening, Alex.
The great.
I'm in the Washington studio, as you might be able to tell. I have a question. This is just between us. It's a professional advice question.
No one can hear us.
So the Secretary of Transportation is going to be my first guest tonight.
Fantastic.
And I just came down here on the train, which was 2 hours late. Is that something I should bring up with him, or would that make it too much about me?
Yes.
Wow.
It's always late. It's always late.
It isn't.
So, I mean, you have a captive.
Thanks. Well, 8 years ago, Donald Trump promised to deliver to his administration the best people. He delivered the worst people to ever work in a presidential administration. And now he is delivering even worse people. Matt Gaetz spent about 24 hours as the worst cabinet nominee in history. Then came America's king of Nepo babies, Robert Kennedy Jr., who the stupidest president in history wants to make the Secretary of Health and Human Services.
I mean, we haven't even really gotten the show started here, but you listen to the language he uses. I don't know how you can be you can be like serious about this stuff. You must be in such an angered state. You must be so kind of over the top, just like some of these other people that are, let me pull some of these, some of the videos up, but some of these people that have like these massive, like big reactions to things, right? Because of the election. Where's this guy I want to find? There we go. Let me go back to the other page. Hang on a sec. There's so many people that are posting videos of themselves having these over-the-top reactions, and it builds this culture and this cycle of, I need to one-up this other guy that seems upset, and it becomes so contrived and insincere. It's like, yeah. So it's not all that O'Donnell does, and so does this guy here.
I'm done crying. My sadness is over. My anger has set in. I am a very petty person, and I am very proud of that. Love it about myself, actually. And so I say this in the most disrespectful way possible. I don't care if you are my family. I don't care if you're my friend. I don't care if we've been friends our entire lives. You can literally go fuck yourself if you voted for Donald Trump. If you are so sad about your groceries being expensive, get a better fucking paying job. Do better in life.
All right, so I saw this video and I didn't know much about the guy, but then immediately my next thought was he must be some academic at a university or whatever, and you scroll up here and it says, oh, look. Oh, wait, this is my tweet. But he is from the University of Oregon, the one I originally saw this on. He does work at a university. He is part of academia. I don't think he is a professor, but he's still part of that circle to where he feels like he's better than other people because of an education, right? And I hear that a lot immediately. A lot of people respond with, well, there's a lot of uneducated people out there voting for Trump. And I think the disconnect, or maybe it's not a disconnect, maybe it's narcissism. There's a promotion of narcissism on the liberal side. To kind of boost your own ego in that way, right? But there's a lot of people that respond this way, that get a better education, do this, do that. I mean, this basement dweller, I don't know, he just like came out for the day, does whatever he does at the university, and he's going to roll back into his parents' basement and, I don't know, play Call of Duty with his buddies or whatever. But it's these types of over-the-top reactions that, I got another one, right? So this guy's, being critical of people's jobs and education and stuff. Did I have it here? Let me see. Oop, not that one. Oh, wait, that was the first one. Bear with me. All right, here we go. This fella. This guy wrote on his face with a Sharpie, right? Watch how he like starts shivering, right? I mean, it's so fake. He's really pushing himself to have this reaction. And again, it's because he saw some other guy like the academic there over on, over in Oregon. Oh, this is my website, politicalcow.com. I should have it linked in the description along with my other socials. But watch his reaction, right? He's trying to rub this stuff off of his face. I don't know. I mean, look at his nose. He's got tic-tac-toe going on. I don't know. Did you hear that little ripply thing, whatever that was they did? I mean, I don't know. He's literally trying to one up everyone else, right? Oh, wow. Sorry. I didn't know it was going to continue.
He cheated! He cheated! He cheated!
All right. That's enough of that fella. Why is this acceptable, right? Again, another basement dweller going to roll into his parents' basement after he does his performance on TikTok here. And then what? What's he going to do with the rest of his life? I mean, talk about some folks that need to do better. This guy in the last one. And this is endless. There's an endless stream of this stuff. I mean, this one got published by Libs of TikTok on X platform. Oh, there we go. I just quote retweeted it here. It's absolutely endless. There's so many videos like this. Here, let me give you another one. Concessions, meltdowns. Wait, where'd he go? Gotta mute the music there. Don't want to get a strike on it. But look, this lady's protesting by shaving her head, protesting Trump's election. I mean, look at her eyes, right? Just sitting there, all her hair just being completely shaved off her head. And then what? She doesn't strike me as a basement dweller like the other two. But, I mean, what happens? People are going to be concerned. You show up at work the next day. It's going to be like, hey, everything all right? What's going on, right? And, oh, I'm just protesting. It's like, oh, okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. And for me, it's like, you know, do I want to hire this person? Yeah. Jewish pickle. Why aren't they always doing this in the car, right? I don't understand. I don't even know if it's their car. They just had to like borrow someone else's car. They broke into someone's car. But this is really madness. And so when Elon Musk talks about the woke mind virus and all that stuff, this is it, right? But there's a lot of people that will just watch this and then they post their own video, right? It's this bizarre domino effect that just keeps happening over and over again. CRXR says, here's an example of why we have to get rid of the Department of Education. Oh, they're talking about the last guy, the young man, right? There's a product of that. She looks happy and empowered. To me, she looked like she was about to break down and cry. Like, oh no. After that first, here, to go back here. Just after that first one was kind of cut there. Cut the music. Watch her eyes open up in a second after she sees the lock fall. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. What did I just do here? See, the eyes just popped up. See, it kind of the video kind of skipped there for a second. There may have been a breakdown that they've cut out in the middle there. Department of Indoctrination. It's a sad thing. It really is. Levi said, who's going to be press secretary? Well, I thought it was going to be his attorney in New York, Elena Haba, but that must have just been speculation I saw. Must have just been speculation. Somebody earlier mentioned Alex Jones. Let's go for that. I'll go for that. Imagine making yourself uglier to own Mega. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you talk about, oh, this is the same one. You talk about some of these people, they're just like outrageously crazy looking. Oh, yeah. And then, so Department of Education kind of goes hand in hand with this too. NPR receives a lot of public funding. And they've said on their website quite a bit that the public funding is essential for keeping, you know, the news and stuff going on NPR. But then you have their CEO coming out and making comments like this. And this is all, you know, in the years before the election, but just watch, she's like so full of pride in saying this.
I think our reverence for the truth might have become a bit of a distraction that is preventing us from finding consensus and getting important things done.
The truth is getting in the way of getting things done. And what are the things that she wants to get done, right? The stuff that gets funneled in through Department of Education and other stuff, right? The third man was embarrassed to show himself. What? I would not be able to do that. I got to tell you, I'd be like, nope, I'm not doing that. No, thanks. Truth is never a distraction. Yeah. All right. The truth is the way. That's the only way. All right. So let's bring out Laurence. Because again, remember, he started for just a minute here. And he's already said Trump is the stupid president in history. These people are unqualified that he's putting in there. They're the worst cabinet picks in history. I mean, he's off to a great start. And so if you think about it from a business standpoint too, do you want to kind of keep your audience drawn in? Who is your audience exactly that's wanting to listen to all this stuff?
Donald Trump proved once again that the most important non-financial currency to him is fame. All the rest of Donald Trump's nominees are Republicans who've been demonstrating their fealty to Donald Trump for years now. The guaranteed way to be...
All right, so he's like cracking a smile. He really likes what he's talking about here, right? And this again goes back to that narcissist thing, the guy that was talking about, you know, having trouble buying groceries, get a better education, go get a better job, do better in life, right? You look at this smile as he's kind of saying these things, right? There's another narcissism to it, that he knows better. I'm going to teach you what's right. It's a bizarre behavior, but it's not recognized by anybody that's exhibiting it.
Be offered a job by Donald Trump and his new administration was to attend his criminal trial in Manhattan, where Donald Trump was found guilty 34 times. Congressman Matt Gaetz attended Donald Trump's criminal trial.
Yeah, American Muscle, they're absolutely failing. So CNN's about to do a bunch of layoffs. A lot of their top talent is supposed to be let go. I'm just waiting for that to kind of fall. I'll go through. And so Comcast, you know, it's a conglomerate, it's a media conglomerate. If any of the assets are underperforming, well, divest. Why pump more money into it if that product does not have the potential of giving you the return that you're after, right? So MSNBC could be sold, and I've seen some, you know, signs of that out there. And then some people are suggesting, well, hey, Elon should just pick that thing up. But I don't know if he's good at this point. I'd rather him concentrate on government efficiency than pick up this failing network.
Donald Trump's criminal defense lawyers in that trial, who won him 34 guilty verdicts, were today named by Donald Trump for positions in the Justice Department. Donald Trump's lead criminal defense attorney, Todd Blanche, will be nominated for Deputy Attorney General, and his other criminal defense attorney.
Yeah, the Department of Health. Like, who is that? I don't even remember the name. Who is leading the Health and Human Services? Well, I know it's RFK now. Who is the current one? Wow, Google, thanks. Don't want to show me the result. Current HHS Secretary. Oh, you know what? It says, unless Google's lying to me. Let me see. What does it say on their website? Let me go to their website. All right, here, I'll flip back over. Hang on a sec, guys. I think this is the one that you're talking about, right? So it says Assistant Secretary. Okay. But, you know, this is the face that's out there. The actual secretary, I couldn't tell you who that is. I just, I've always heard HHS associated with this individual, but did not realize it was the assistant secretary. So, I mean, this is, can you see it up there? Yeah, this is the HHS website. So, okay. Nonetheless, I think it does at least underscore the point that, you know, there's a bit of a oxymoron in action here. All right. Let's continue with Lawrence.
In that case, Emil Bove will be appointed Principal Associate Deputy Attorney General. Robert Kennedy Jr. didn't even have to go to the trial. Robert Kennedy Jr. isn't even a Republican. He's just famous, or better put, he just has a famous name. He has spent most of his life with no one having any idea who he is when he walks through public places, because the only thing famous about him is his name. And it is now possibly the second most dangerous name in America, second only to the name of the person who wants him to be in charge of health and human services in this country. Robert Kennedy Jr. was a heroin addict in high school and college, and during the years when he should have been going to medical school if he ever wanted to claim medical expertise. Just as the confirmation process for Matt Gaetz will include many public...
I see a flat earth comment. So Christopher saying, yes, you're qualified to say who's qualified. You think the earth is flat. I always think the earth is flat comments are fun. Yeah, DEI hired. That's totally it for the last one. Absolutely.
discussions.
Yeah, he is totally jealous.
Sex trafficking investigation that focused on Matt Gaetz and a friend of his, and the House Ethics Committee investigation that also studied those charges. Robert Kennedy Jr.'s confirmation process will include much public discussion about his unwelcome touching of babysitters and other very bad behavior as he made life difficult, to say the least, for all three of his wives consecutively. But the most important thing to know about Robert Kennedy Jr. is that there are probably people dead tonight because of him.
I mean, yeah, he's just trying to one up himself here. He just keeps getting more and more over the top. Like what is he talking about? He's probably going to say because he was not for vaccination and whatever. Let's see what he's talking about. But I guess my point here is, though, the monologues introductory have just already started to pick up in intensity. There might have been a day or what have you of where, I don't know, maybe they were just kind of licking their wounds from the election, just not feeling too great. But it's starting to pick up steam again. So this is just the start. It's going to get more intense and more vile from here. I just don't know how long they're going to be on the air with the network failing like it is. I mean, Elon's got enough money to probably buy up the network and just shut it down and call it a day.
Thousands of people who followed his medical advice on vaccines in the middle of a deadly pandemic. At least Matt Gaetz didn't kill anyone. And that is why, on my scorecard, Matt Gaetz is now the second worst cabinet nominee in history. This is obviously open to debate. And tomorrow, I suppose it is possible someone worse can be announced for Secretary of Education or Commerce or Agriculture.
I am interested to see more of the, economic type nominations. Who's going to go into those spots? The chair for the SEC, that one's going to be interesting. I'm surprised he hasn't. Well, I guess he can't fire anybody this second, right? It has to wait till January 20th. But as soon as that hits, Gary Gensler should be out of there, and that's going to be a huge boost for crypto, I think, at that point. Not financial advice, but for those that are following and that are kind of plugged into that stuff, he's been holding things down for quite some time. And so I think some of this reaction in the crypto markets that you're seeing right now is probably correlated to that.
Washington is now reeling from 2 days of shock from the Gaetz announcement and then the Kennedy announcement. Congressman Jamie Raskin will join us with his perspective on Matt Gaetz, with whom he has served in the House of Representatives. Amy Klobuchar is a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, which has jurisdiction over the confirmation.
I can't stand Klobuchar, so I'm going to have to pause it right there. But, you're talking about, 2025 is going to be good. But talking about some of the, Harris stuff and the people that are supportive of her, I actually attended a rally and took like some video of it. Let me see if I can pull that up here. Where did it go?
15, 20 minutes, and it was literally the same speech in Michigan.
But these wonder what happens at a Kamala. I'm just going to pull up in the middle. There's like, I guess, in the beginning too. I mean, the place smelled very bad, and it smelled like a leafy plant that Californians really like. And it's bizarre. Like, I don't know where it's coming from or who has it, but like, why is it just so prevalent, right? I'm pretty sensitive to that stuff. It gives me a headache, or just like cigarette smoke and stuff too. But place smelled. There was a line of people that were wrapped around the building. And, as you started to enter, the outside of the stadium there, it smelled like a urinal. Like people had been waiting there for like 4 or 5 hours or something, and they had to go potty. And I guess they didn't want to lose their place in line. So it was just absurd. Some of the spots. But here, let me pull it forward to you. There's a couple of interesting incidents. Y'all might have seen that video of there's a young lady that was screaming in the face of a baby. That happened at this particular rally that was in Houston.
Off time, I mean the time for when they would let people into the. This is about where he was positioned, about the evils of voting for the Democrat Party.
Side of the event, all right. I'm gonna mute. This is odd. I'm gonna mute myself. But one of the lines that they had wrapped around the building here, there was somebody that was preaching to the crowd, telling them how the Democrat Party is just a bunch of narcissists and everything. Can't say I disagree. We've been just seeing that here. But anyway, so here he is, shouting at everybody. And I'm sure people were aggravated by it. But at this point in time, he was pretty aggravated at the crowd. What I didn't know was, why he was so aggravated and just like yelling at the crowd. And this is why.
And this is why he was so angry.
You could see the... So, there was a decent person there that kind of got in the way. Like, hey, what the heck are you doing? This is, you kind of crossed the line there. But there's people in the background that are laughing, all kinds of just nonsense going on. And so this is just like one rally, right? Or maybe this is the same rally. Let me go. The scary part was the thing was like packed. But then I got to think like, all right, the Houston area, all the neighboring areas, about 6-7 million people. You could probably find 20,000 that are going to be thrilled to be there. Yeah. Let's see, where is... Okay, here we go. Hang on. All right, so Kamala's coming out on stage now, right? Yeah, so this I don't know how I got a good spot. Everybody, it's funny. The place was packed when I got there. I'm not going to wait 5 hours in line. You got to be kidding me. I just kind of like snuck in right as, the cutoff for letting people in happened. And I just walked around and just walked right up to this spot and got a good spot. Everybody else was like piled on each other down in the field level, just to catch a glimpse. But so anyway, I'm recording. I'm pretty close to the stage. Yeah, let's keep going here. I'll turn on the audio once we get to the part. You know what? I'll just turn it on. Be interesting.
Oh, we had some Gaza protesters here. Look at that. So all kinds of stuff going on.
Sorry, what's going on? This guy started scaring people. But the crowd response to him was really interesting. Watch this in a minute.
I'll put him down. Hey, take it easy. Don't get yourself. Don't do it. Don't do it. Like that? You want to leave?
I felt that he would do that.
Yeah?
I felt it.
Yeah. Oh, there they go. Oh, Secret Service got him. So he had that look. He was in trouble. It's like, don't get yourself mixed up, yeah.
Once I put my knee on his sternum and close his throat.
So, I mean, this is just me, right? Just sitting here. But there was two, sets of protesters, one in front of me. The video is a little choppy because I was attempting to live stream, but because there were so many people there that were on their phone doing FaceTime or whatever, the bandwidth just got sucked up, out in that area at that point in time. So it's a little choppy, but, I got some decent clips out of it. Anyway, this is just one location. There's Gaza protesters all over the place, that were being escorted out. The gentleman behind us that was yelling, that was by himself. He was yelling out, stuff about Gaza and so forth. But the guy in the white shirt here, he literally climbed up a couple of rows of seats. I didn't know what he was doing initially. He's an older gentleman too. And, I was kind of like putting my hands out, like initially before he climbed up, like, hey, you're going to fall, hurt yourself. But he actually wanted to go over there and grab that guy and like wrestle him down or something. So I don't know if you could hear me clearly on that, but I was telling him, they're like, hey, you're going to get locked up. Don't do it. And after everything settled down, I tried to debrief with him. Kind of like, okay, you had this look in your eye, right? And he was still, the switch was still flipped on him. He was in like insane mode. And you probably heard him like, if I could just put my knee on his sternum. It's like, whoa, like what the heck, buddy? But this is who is at the rally, right? Not just the protesters, showing, the different parts of the party that are really confused and not aligned on things, but the young lady that was yelling in the face of the baby, this guy that was willing to get into like a physical altercation, right? And again, this is just me in my small space, that the observations that I'm making. I could see people getting, kind of shown out the door by police on the other side of the the stage as well. So, I mean, and this was the event that Beyonce was supposed to have been at. Well, she was at it. Let me see if I could show you guys that clip. Come on. Oh, yeah, here's Willie.
Just to the left of the stage, Willie Nelson came out. Unfortunately, his performance didn't record on my live stream.
Bandwidth issues.
That everybody was waiting for. Beyonce comes out.
No.
Now look at this person up here, about to break their neck, fall, just trying to get a clip of Beyonce coming through. You hear the applause. This is the moment everybody's out there for. But again, the sheer number of people here.
But you hear how crazy the crowd's going, right? I mean, they're outstretched. They're going to break their neck trying to just catch a photo or, catch a glimpse. Hopefully she like waves at them or something. Everybody was just like out of their mind at this point. I think I may have lowered the volume a little bit so that it didn't, have as much static to it. But people just absolutely blew up when she got on stage. And then the crazy thing is she didn't even talk very long. It's like 4 or 5 minutes or something, right? And on the news, they said that the crowd was booing Kamala because Beyonce didn't sing, right? And so the crowd is upset. So when Kamala came out, the crowd booed. That wasn't why they booed. So if you see the clip on TV where Kamala kind of hears the boos and it looks like she gets disoriented and looks around, it was the crowd booing the guy that was behind me. That was one of the big moments where like the crowd started like booing heavily. They did it when they initially have the Kamala chant that they were yelling out. And then as he was being escorted off at some point by the Secret Service, everybody started booing when more people caught a glimpse of him going through. But there was so much disruption, there was so much chaos going on that it was actually observed on TV. And, folks that are watching it on TV, the talking heads, they came up with their own interpretation as to what's going on, right? That's so 2017. What's 2017 here? I'm really excited. We have to... So Joshua, I think that we are in the process of the market tanking, hitting a down cycle in the economy right now. Here, case in point, and I know the macro numbers are not reflective of how people are doing individually, right? They're just overall economic cycle. What does that look like, right? Inflation went up a little bit, not significantly, but it went up, and the Federal Reserve has cut interest rates. Those two things are not congruent. So the risk for them to cut interest rates, the risk of a significant economic downturn must be much higher than the risk posed by inflation continuing to grow. So they're trying to take some action in advance, and it hasn't quite done the trick yet because the last jobs report came out pretty darn light. Only 12,000 jobs were created, and previous months were revised downwards as well. So that's, we've got the holiday season coming up. Once January comes around, we'll see more data on how the consumer is doing as far as, sales that the retailers have gotten. And that might significantly disappoint, which will then have a cascading effect across the economy, right? Anything wages or job creation in Trump's first year should be totally credited to Obama. Okay, Joshua. All right, Joshua. Yeah. Anything, we won World War II. That should be credited to Obama also, I think. Yeah, Levi. I mean, this is just where it's at, and not something that just happened during Biden's tenure, right? This is something that's been kind of brewing since 2009 when we did all the rounds of quantitative easing, which that was Obama. He did all of that, right? The Federal Reserve took control of the economy, pumped cash into it. And how did they pump cash into it? They issued debt in the form of treasuries, and then they created cash. Literally, they pushed the button and created cash to buy that debt back and just put it on the balance sheet somewhere. So the money supply has been increased. There's more money flowing in the system. It's bizarre. And that's part of the economic theory that they subscribe to as well, that because they're the government, it's not a big deal. They can print as much money as they want. They got to do some good things, and that's no big deal. Modern monetary theory, I think is what it's called, if I remember correctly. Anyway, the principles of it: government's okay to print as much money as you want. The debt to GDP ratios, all that stuff, not a big deal. You can go up 100%, 200%, not a big deal. Just print more money. You could take care of that, right? Because at some point, are they going to start like deleting their debt? Like what's going on here, right? That system doesn't hold. And they say if there's any inflation that starts to happen, no big deal. You can control that. You just raise taxes. Raising taxes will help control inflation. And this is literally modern monetary. I'll get my AI to give a better summary. I mean, those are the three things that stand out to me on it. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's counter to anything.
How's the world on your side this morning?
Hey, can you give my live stream viewers a summary of modern monetary theory?
Yes, absolutely. All right, everyone. Here's a quick rundown of modern monetary theory, or MMT. Essentially, MMT argues that governments that control their own currency, like the U.S. with the dollar, can create more money to fund government spending as needed without relying on taxes or borrowing. They argue that this isn't inflationary because governments can control prices through policy, and that deficits aren't inherently bad. Instead, they view government spending as a way to ensure maximum employment and economic stability. While controversial, MMT challenges traditional ideas about debt and deficits. Remember, that's just a summary. There's a lot more to it. Happy to explore any questions.
Can you dive into how somebody applying modern monetary theory would control inflation if it was to creep up?
Sure. According to modern monetary theory, controlling inflation when government spending increases is achieved through several mechanisms. First, higher taxes can be used to reduce the amount of money in circulation. By increasing taxes, governments can pull money out of the economy to cool down demand if it's overheating. Second, they might adjust interest rates through the central bank to make borrowing more expensive, which would reduce spending and investment. Third, regulations and policies could be implemented to directly control or influence prices. This includes price controls or encouraging production to meet demand. MMT emphasizes that the exact approach depends on the specific economic context, highlighting the flexibility governments have when it comes to managing their own currency. What's your take on their methods?
So that's all those things that it highlighted, pretty ridiculous in my mind. And if you look at what's out, Pickle, that's exactly what Biden did with everything. This is literally the new Democrat liberal way of economic theory and thinking that's out there. Biden was caught, I've got it in one of my videos, Biden was caught saying like, we need, he either said we need inflation or I love inflation. Inflation's a good thing, something to that effect. And he said it in his, his loud whisper voice that he normally does. But it's revealing because it shows the connection he has with this rogue theory, as I think of it, that has no grounding in reality to me. But they think that they can just print endlessly and there's no consequence to that. And they say, hey, well, we can control demand by increasing taxes, and then people won't have as much money to spend, so inflation will go down. But it's actually not the case. If you tax people and take their money, bring it back into the central government, demand doesn't disappear. It's just now the government's going to decide what's in demand, right? The government's going to spend that money still. They're going to put it out there somewhere. So it doesn't really add up at the end of the day, all the different pieces to it. But again, that's exactly what, like, they're representing. And it's put under the guise of, we're going to hold them accountable because in them as the rich, we're going to raise their taxes. And it's like, well, what are you going to do? Like, say you did that, what's going to happen at that point? I mean, nobody has an answer to that. It's just this idea of retribution. Again, with the narcissism, it's just this idea of retribution. You are better than, fill in the blank. And it's endless. It's not focused on creating something, solving a problem, because taxes are revenue for the country. They are revenue for the country. The question is the spending. And the question is the creation of new money in making this system work. Does the government then direct how life works, how the economy works? Because that's what the MMT policy dictates. And, again, with classical liberalism, traditionally, liberalism did not like taxes. It was for open markets. I mean, you heard them talk about Adam Smith, the founder of capitalism, more or less, or at least putting a real context around it. I shouldn't say context, reminds me of Harris all the time. Just writing a nice little book that really kind of walked you through how a capitalist model should work. Yeah, so between DOGE and some of the tax decreases, hopefully that we'll see, I hope that'll start helping the situation. Because again, the demand doesn't go away. If you take money away from people and just the government takes it, are they going to destroy those dollars? No, they're going to spend it. And so the government is still going to put that demand into the economy. That's what happens at the end of the day. And I don't like the idea that they get to decide how to spend my money on my behalf just because they're trying to fight inflation, right? Because then you see all those crazy projects that start to get put into place, right? All the waste that's out there, studying, fish and, if they understand their gender or whatever, right? There's literally studies like that are ongoing. 500,000 on that, 2 million on this. And it's like, you got to be kidding me. And so those are the things that the DOGE is going after here. Yeah, Levi, they absolutely need to show where the money's going. These big numbers that they put out there, like, oh yeah, Department of Defense. And yeah, I'm calling that out too, because there's probably a ton of waste in there that could be. I'm not saying just cut the budget for the waste. Maybe if you actually invested that a little bit better, like why not take that wasted dollars to fraud or to overpayment or to whatever it is, instead of it, going into somebody's pocket that was a lobbyist, that kind of got a contract for themselves through some, backroom deals. Why not take that money and, actually give the military some additional benefits, raises and so forth? Do something better with it. So it doesn't all have to be decrease that spending. It can be reinvestment where, we've been lacking quite a bit. Same as the case with Social Security. We're not taking in as much money as we have to pay out at this point. There's an imbalance happening with the workforce. So it's all a problem. Trump needs to reduce the IRS. Yep, that's absolutely right. The 87,000 new IRS staff, like what are they doing? Right? Was that really necessary? I mean, during the Obama era, we did an adoption, and we were heavily scrutinized for the adoption credit, to the point where they asked for an hour-by-hour account, because, you have to get a bunch of legal processes and things done, so you have to hire an attorney to help you with that, somebody that specializes in this. They wanted an hour-by-hour account of all the expenditures. And of course, she's very detailed, and she had that available, and we sent it on over to them. And they literally went through each line and found, I don't know, like $2,000 of activities that they felt were not directly related to the adoption. Now, of course, I don't have a personal attorney. The only reason this person was hired was for the adoption. They didn't do any bonus stuff for us, right? So anyway, there's a lot of this thing when you get all these people in the IRS, all this bureaucracy adding in, things just don't work out as planned. You start having, people giving themselves high fives because they're able to burn people on credits that they should have received. But, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I actually had to fight to get, about 80% of the credit. Otherwise, it was like we were just going to get like 30% of the credit. And the funny thing is, I was actually in direct contact on the phone with the IRS, which nowadays, if you get somebody calling and saying they're the IRS, I mean, it's probably one of those scammers, right? But they actually had the time to speak with me individually, to scrutinize everything on my books. Like, isn't there somebody else that probably should get a little bit more scrutiny? It was bizarre, but it wasn't an isolated case at that point in time. It was something that was recurring for a lot of people that did not fully agree with the Democrat Party, or that had like a R by their name. So anyway, let me see. I got one more clip out of this mix that I'll show y'all. All right, so there's that guy. All right, so exiting the place, we had a couple of interesting characters just chatting to themselves about how great it'll be if Kamala wins the presidency. I had the noise cancellation on my microphone, unfortunately, so I turned it off in a second here. You can hear him better.
As people apparently like crazy. He can have a good he said the whole country was a garbage country. He said the United States was a garbage country. And then you got Elon Musk on the phone with
I forgot. So, I mean, they're just going on and on, these two, about stuff like, oh, he had Elon Musk on the phone with Putin. Oh, Trump said the United States is a garbage country. And it's like, I have no idea where some of the things came from that they were just talking. It just all, I mean, it was bizarre. And those were just two that I happened to catch on my way out, because by this time I was kind of done. I was like, man, it's late. I got to get out of here. And it was in the evening, later in the evening. It was dark out there. Didn't quite feel safe with all those people around me. It was like, man, I'm, got to hide my watch here. What's going on, right? Anyway, a lot of people were having similar discussions. And again, I thought it was bizarre that so many people kind of got together and they were, all in on this Kamala talk. And interestingly, Kamala she spoke for like 15 minutes, right? Like, people have been waiting here like literally all day. They took the day off of work. They were there all freaking day. And then she just speaks for a few minutes and then is gone. Whereas you see Trump, he doesn't even have a teleprompter, right? And he just goes on and on for hours and, sharing stories and talking about stuff. Let me see if I got a video of the teleprompter. Should be around here. Number of people out there. Nope. People out there. Let's see if we can stop it. Not a good one. I don't remember at what point, but another point I focused in on it. But you could see this little thing here. There's a massive teleprompter just in front of the stage. So everybody was just like reading off of it. You probably saw that clip of Cardi B at her event she did just before the election, where she went up there and the teleprompter was blank. And she just made those strange mouth noises and started, like, I don't know, yelling out some things to make the crowd cheer. And then her assistant brought up her phone and she read the speech from there. Yeah, they do live in sound bites. And I mean, this is, it was an example of it. Everybody just was talking about them back and forth. One lesson learned from me, though, from this, if I go to another one of these events, I may not try to live stream it because not all of it gets recorded. So a lot of it got cut out. The portions I did get, luckily, I had a pretty decent connection for a good bit of it. About 3,000 people were able to kind of tune in and watch it, but it didn't, it got choppy, so it didn't work out as best as it could have. But yeah, that was a strange one, right? So you got folks like that probably who are listening to guys like this, and the anger and the, you know, resentment and the negativity that he kind of puts out there. It's probably who's just like eating all that stuff up, right? Let's see what got anything else. No, I'll leave him with that. All right. Yeah. Let me see if I got anything else interesting here from that event. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed it, but at one point, let me bring that video back up. One point, there was a young lady that was just seated nearby me when that guy came up out of his seat and started to, you know, try to grab the protester behind us. Here, let's play this part.
You want to leave?
So you heard that part where I said, you want to leave? So I was, you know, filming this guy, and I saw her walking towards me, and I thought that she was, I mean, she looked like she was scared from this guy screaming his head off and the other guy kind of bumping her out of the way where she was standing, you know, trying to put his hands on this guy. I thought she wanted to leave or whatever, right? But a lot of people are just kind of like freaked out by what was going on themselves too. And so then she just replied, "Oh, I knew this was going to happen."
I felt that he would do that.
Yeah.
I felt it.
So, I mean, just looking around at the audience and stuff, you kind of get a feeling of these things, right? Oh, sorry, guys. Still an amateur. Laurence O'Donnell was on the screen for a little bit too long. Here, I'll just back it up a little bit. So this is the moment.
You want to leave?
I felt that he would do that.
Yeah.
I felt it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a moment. But I mean, she was even expressing like, you know, I'm freaked out by what the heck's going on around here, right? Sure, she was not the only one. I mean, folks that were, you know, 3 rows below us when the Gaza protesters, I mean, they pulled flags. I don't know where they pulled these flags out from. I don't want to know. But they had these flags all of a sudden waving around, you know, kind of getting in people's way and stuff. I'm sure that was a little unsettling to people down there. She said that she felt like the guy behind us was going to be, you know, some kind of trouble. He was going to cause some sort of a commotion. He just kind of like seemed a little off to her, right? Yeah, I mean, this is basically a Jerry Springer episode that was going on there. And I mean, keep in mind, this is just me in the spot that I chose to stand, and this is the stuff that was going on around me. And I could see on the other side of the stage, there was more police that were coming in, escorting people off. Harris Kamala Harris was thrown off. She kind of paused at one moment, hearing the noise and the commotion behind her, right? It threw her off from like giving her speech. I mean, it was just bizarre. And she was very scripted. She was super scripted with what she kind of said out there, and it was very, 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 tight. It was like just 15 minutes. I think, her communications folks just wanted her to, be out there for enough time for people to feel like they got a chance to see her, and she said her piece and left. So, I appreciate that, Joshua. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just the thing. Like, I was like, I heard that the event was going to happen. It's easy enough to just go sign up on the website. I got the text that said, you got picked for the lottery. They had a lottery system or something. So I was like, all right, I'll go. And that was the thing. I wasn't going to go throw a hat on and go wave my own flag and cause a commotion or whatever. I just wanted to see what they were up to. How did they behave? What did they look? And one of the things I mentioned in the video at some point, but actually the only thing they talked about was, as they term it, reproductive freedom. That was the only thing that was the only topic any of the speakers discussed. I don't remember the guy's name that was running against Ted Cruz for Senate, but he came up there, and instead of talking about, vote for me, I'm great, he just talked about reproductive freedom also. Everybody hit on that. They had guests come in to talk about it. And it was interesting, the phrasing, right? They've kind of shifted it towards freedom instead of, kind of calling it out for what it always has been. I think they felt like that at this point in time, that was the only thing that they had to anchor on, that they had an edge on Trump. Yeah, the whole night, that was it. In fact, let me go back down here. I'll play some of this as I'm just walking around. They show a lot of advertisements that are airing on local stations. People. I'll mute that a little bit. Once I turn around, you'll probably be able to see it. So, see the blue sign that's behind the stage. So I'm at the field level right now. I hadn't found my spot yet. Once I zoom in, you'll see vote for reproductive freedom. There was that sign that was pretty big behind the stage. There was multiple signs along the sides. That was literally the theme of the entire evening. It was just vote reproductive freedom. And I just got to say, like, all these types of issues, if your pocketbook's not right, some of this other stuff just doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And I think that's the case for a lot of people with inflation, that it's coming to a head at this point. Let me see if there was any other signs that I caught on here. Yeah, so for a while I was like, all right, I guess I'm just gonna have to be here. And I was like, no, this sucks. I'm gonna go find someplace else. Boom. Yeah, and that's the funny part, right? The trust women sign as if we don't. It's odd. It's odd. There's just this sentiment that's pushed out there that, anti and then fill in the blank, right? Whether it's women, immigrant, whatever it is, they put an anti in front of it. And, that's what Republicans are, or that's what conservatives are, or whatever, right? This area that you see some open space, you evidently had to make a sizable donation to qualify for. They give you a special bracelet, and then you're on a list, security checks. They had a cop out front making sure no random people went by. Yeah, so I initially, that's where I went. I was like, oh, cool, I can get right up to the stage. I'm just going to go down here. I don't know why everyone's just standing around. But I wasn't on the list. Yeah. I think this is about when Beyonce comes back out then. Oh, yeah, it is, because this lady's about to stand on a chair, break her neck. All right. Anyway, let's see what else we got here. I think that's it. I think the shorts were just kind of snippets of different moments that were in there. But it's kind of funny, though, because you go to the event, you see these things unfold in front of you, and then you watch the news, and some of it was taken out of context, like them saying, oh, everybody was booing because Beyonce didn't sing. But then, it was just the protesters that they were booing, or this incident with the lady yelling at the baby here coming out. Yeah, thankfully the chairs were bolted to the ground, so nothing went flying. So what else we got? Oh, okay. This one's funny. All right, I'm going to play this video. You guys tell me if there's anything inappropriate in it. Oh, what the heck happened to this?
Rally, some wearing Kamala merch. But what do you notice here? Well, they are all getting in line for a Kamala Harris rally, some wearing Kamala merch. But rewind and look at all the buses bringing people to the event. My take, I guess you can get people to do anything for $20 and a free pizza. What do you know?
So there's an animation I had in here. Let me just forward it to when that animation pops up. I think it was when I mentioned the bus. Okay. This little animation, the bus just goes by the screen. It's because I mentioned the bus and there was a little clip of that, right? On TikTok, I got a community guidelines strike for, I don't know if they termed it like violence or something, graphic or violent or sexual content or something like that. And I'm looking back like, what are you talking about? And so I appeal it. And it comes back and they double down on it. Like, nope, you got a strike on your account. I'm still dumbfounded. It's just like, I don't understand what happened. The only thing I could think is they don't really have humans looking at it. They just have an algorithm, and somehow they thought that I was saying this bus is kind of running into people or something. But I'm still at a loss. So like TikTok's very strange with how their algorithm works. And when I've appealed things, sometimes they say, oh, sorry, we got to take this video down, and they don't give you a strike. And they say like, but you can appeal it if you want. And so I hit appeal. And then they say, oh, after the appeal, we're actually going to give you a strike. So it's like, I don't even want to appeal it anymore because they're going to like lock my account out or something, right? Anyway, it's weird. A lot of people are using that platform now, but it's super, super censored. YouTube is pretty open. Instagram's pretty open. X platform as well. But I mean, TikTok is like really, really crazy about stuff. And then I feel that there is like some bias in the system too, because then you see, the opposite perspectives put out there, and they say all kinds of outrageous stuff. Like the clip of that guy in his car with the beard. He ended his conversation by, telling people to go, jump off of something. And on the TikTok platform, like there's certain phrases that the AI picks up. Now I'm like concerned that it's going to be on all the platforms. You shouldn't say some of these things, but they immediately will strike your account if anything like that gets brought up, either by you or a guest that you have on there. So that content, though, is out there quite a bit. People saying that kind of stuff against Trump. But as soon as it is mildly against Harris or whatever, or even this video here like I had, it's bizarre. They take it down right away, or they give you a strike. All right, let me get out of this thing. All right, let me see what time it is. Oh, it's getting pretty doggone late. Pretty late. Normal business hours, I think, in the future. I'll go for some normal business hours. Well, hey, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me for a little bit. Looks like a good number of people came through. Got my other socials in the description. Give it a like, subscribe. I'll catch you guys another time when I'll leave you with my theme song.
Political power goes the laws. Behind the screen, wisdom surges, lighting up hate with her eyes. In the shadows, secrets lurk. She exposes, she ignites. With every post, she does the work, unmasking darkness, revealing